Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to TradeStation. My name is Michael Burke. I'm Vice President of Client Training here at TradeStation. I want to welcome you to another edition of our Futures Options Trading Series. This series of events is designed to highlight some of the more powerful features and capabilities of the TradeStation FuturesPlus Futures Options Trading Platform. And in today's session, I'll be discussing the new CME Group's Micro E-mini Futures Options, which is a great new product, and it's based on the Micro Futures, both the E-mini and the NASDAQ Mini. And I'll show you how they can be traded on the TradeStation FuturesPlus platform. So keep in mind that the following presentation is for educational purposes only. All of the symbols and trading ideas discussed are for demonstration purposes and are not recommendations. Active trading is not suitable for everyone. Futures and options and futures options trading all carry a high degree of risk, and you can find additional disclosure information on the TradeStation website. If you're just starting out with TradeStation and looking how to get up to speed quickly, I'd like to recommend the TradeStation Getting Started channel that's hosted on our affiliate youcantrade.com. Here there's something to learn every day. Whether it is the big platform, TradeStation desktop platform, or Futures Plus, the web and mobile tools, lots of videos to watch, lots of other resources to tap into. So it's free to join, and all those resources come with that membership. And once you're ready to take TradeStation to that next level, I want to encourage you to check out Masterclass. So Masterclass online is designed after our in-person masterclass that we used to do here at our corporate headquarters. It was a week-long deep dive immersion course in TradeStation. An online masterclass feels a lot like that. There's sessions every day, lots of videos, lots of resources, guest speakers, and you can tap into that and try that free for 14 days as a trial. See if it's something that will help you, and after that it's just $59 per month. So check it out. So today we're going to break this session into two parts. The first part of this presentation, we're going to be looking at the CME Micro E-mini Futures Options. We'll look at the specifications, why you might want to trade those, and some of the mechanics of those new products. And the thing to remember here is that they are futures options based on the new Micro Futures that was just released. So that product has been very successful, and the CME Group has now launched options against those underlying Micro Futures contracts. So if you're just getting started trading, or you just want to trade small size, or you're starting out with a small account, this product, along with the Micro E-mini Futures for the E-mini and for the NASDAQ Mini, are just great ways to get started in trading futures and futures options. We're also going to talk about how to trade futures options using TradeStation's FuturesPlus platform. So FuturesPlus is a separate platform. It's a web-based platform. It's in conjunction with our partnership with Trading Technologies, and it is an institutional quality futures options trading platform. I'm going to show you a little bit of that platform today. We'll talk about how to access the new futures options, micro options that we're talking about, how to place a trade, and you'll get a feel for how that FuturesPlus platform looks. So one of the things, though, I need to bring up at this point is that in order to access the TradeStation FuturesPlus platform, you have to have a separate account that's tied to that platform specifically. So you can't use your TradeStation Futures account in FuturesPlus. If you're a futures trader, or you're a stock trader, or you're an options trader, this is a product that can help you in a number of different ways. The new Micro E-mini Futures options allow you to create unique strategies, option strategies that you might normally create on a stock, or you might create on an index. You can now create those same strategies for the Micro E-mini Futures. And right now, the CME has launched two products. They have launched options on the Micro E-mini S&P 500, which is the MES underlying symbol, and on the Micro E-mini NASDAQ 100, which is MNQ. So that's the micro future. So trading these options have all the same options benefits that you're used to if you're trading futures options now, or if you're trading stock options. With options, you get to control the risk potential. If you're buying calls and puts, You have unlimited profit potential on those, and you've limited your risk to what you paid for that option. Options offer increased leverage. What's interesting about these new micro E-minis is that they give you the ability to what I would call micro hedge. So with the large E-mini future, the regular ES future, that one contract of that is worth 500 shares of SPY. So if you're only trading 100 shares of SPY and you want to hedge that, this is the perfect instrument for that, because these options are just like the micros. They're 1/10 the size, so that allows for that kind of precision trading. Let's say that you have an idea where you want to scale in to into a position, maybe buy one at one level, buy one at another level, buy another. If you're trading the big E-mini contract, that's 3 contracts. Right now, that's about $40,000 in margin. So, but if you're trading the micros and you want to try that same strategy, you can scale in for about $4,000 in margin. So that ability to micro hedge or to micro size your position can be very useful, especially if you're starting out with a small account. Just like stock options, you have the ability to create really flexible strategies. Sure, you can go long and short, but you can trade quiet markets and active markets. You can trade volatility. So all of the same stock option strategies that you're trading now on indexes or stocks, you can trade those same strategies here with the micro E-mini contracts. But some of the really important benefits of this product, in my view, and probably the most important feature of these products, both the micro E-minis and these options, is that it's around the clock trading. If I'm sitting on my couch and I see a news story on the news right now, if I'm in a large position, a stock position, or I'm in some kind of a position in one of the indexes, if I don't have a futures account, I am stuck waiting for the market to open on Monday and hoping that it's not too bad. Whereas if I'm sitting on my couch and I have a futures account, I can say, well, let me buy a couple of these puts and hedge my position going into the open on Monday or going into the open on the next day. So having that ability to be able to place a trade outside of stock market hours can be very helpful, and it gives you a little bit added safety and security that you may not have if you only have an equities account and you're watching the news, something happens, there's nothing you can do about it till the next day. Here, you can do something about it right now. That's incredibly powerful to me. So we talked about this a little bit. There are some similarities and a little bit of differences between stock options and futures options. So if let's just kind of talk through that a little bit here. So when you're trading a stock and you're trading a stock option, for example, that stock option contract is generally worth 100 shares of stock. When you're trading futures options, one option contract is worth one futures contract. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio for futures. It's typically a 100-to-1 ratio for stocks. And the tick value for stocks is generally a penny, right? Stocks move in 1 penny increments. But futures options, they trade in different tick increments. So you have to know what you're trading. You have to do a little bit of research and understand what are all those contract specifications. There are differences, and if you don't know those differences, I promise you'll get into trouble. Stock options typically expire on the 3rd Friday of each month. There are weekly expirations. And same thing with these new micro E-mini futures contracts. There are monthly options, there are weekly options, and there's something that are called end-of-month options, which expire on the last day of the month. Just like stock options, you have a lot of flexibility in selecting that expiration series or the timed expiration that you want to be in a trade. We already talked about the fact that futures options trade 24 hours in the Globex market. Markets are closed from Friday at around 5 o'clock until Sunday at 6 p.m. But otherwise, you pretty much have uninterrupted trading of futures. Stocks are only traded during a specific set of time. Stock options, even less time. They only trade during the regular market session. So liquidity is always a big issue on a trader's mind. Is there enough liquidity for me to get in and out without having to pay too big of a bid or ask spread? And in stock options, that varies from instrument to instrument, right? Depending on how expensive the stock is, or depending on whether it's a well-known stock or a stock that's not well-known, it may have low liquidity, may not have a lot of volume, and you're going to pay more of a bid-ask spread for that kind of an instrument. In the new futures, micro E-mini futures options, the liquidity has been pretty good. There's a market maker system that allows you to put on just about any position, and the bid-ask spreads have been pretty reasonable. Keep in mind that this instrument is tied exactly to the big E-mini contract and NASDAQ contract. So if these got out of whack too much, there would be somebody who would do an arbitrage and immediately swallow up that difference. So these are tracking very closely to the big E-mini and big NASDAQ mini. So far, liquidity's been great. Bid-ask spreads have been really good as well. And of course, with futures, you get a different tax treatment for your profits than you do for stocks. So you have to hold stocks for at least a year to get that capital gains tax benefit. In futures, you immediately get a 60-40 split between capital gains and regular income. So futures have a tax benefit that you can investigate. So we talked about for a moment that one of the regular big E-mini contracts is worth 500 shares of SPY, right? We talked about that. So here I just want to kind of compare apples to apples. So based on that, if you were to have one SPY ETF option, that's equivalent to approximately 2 of these E-mini contracts. So these 2 E-mini, micro E-mini futures options are worth about 1 SPY option. So that's kind of the equivalent. But the real benefit here is the margin requirement for these options. So in futures options, if you write an option, the margin that you pay for writing that option is the same margin for trading the contract. So for example, if right now the micro E-mini future has a margin of about $1,000, let's say, that means that I could write one option against that E-mini contract for $1,000. That's my margin. Think about what the margin is for writing a naked option against SPY, even 100 shares of SPY. That's so, like with all futures, it's really important to know the exact contract specifications, and the futures exchanges, which is primarily the CME Group right now, they have a website that does nothing but talk about their products, what those specifications are, everything you need to know. So if you're going to be trading futures and futures options, you have to visit the CME site and get all the information that you need before you start trading. It's really important. Some of the key futures contract specifications that you need to be aware of. Now remember, these are micro futures options, so they're going to have the same specifications for the most part after the micro E-mini contract. So the session start times and end times are going to be the same. The expiration dates are going to be different because options have a number of different expiration dates versus the futures. The futures only expire every quarter, whereas we're going to have options that expire every quarter, every week, and at the end of each month. So we'll take a look at those. The settlement styles are really important, and we'll talk about American versus European settlement. And what's funny with this product is that some of the expirations are American and some of them are European. So I'll talk about that here in a second. It's important to understand the contract value of not only the micro E-mini future, but these options. So think about this for a moment. The E-mini future has a $50 point value, which means that for every contract you hold, if the E-mini goes up 1 point, you're going to make $50. If it goes up 2 points, you're going to make $100, right? So this is 1/10 that size. So the E-mini micro options, 1 point is worth $5. If it moves up 2 points, it's $10. And the NASDAQ it's $20 for the NASDAQ future. So the micro is $2 and the options are $2. So it's important to understand those contract values. Okay, so here are the contract specifications for the 2 products that we're talking about. On the left is the micro E-mini S&P 500 futures, and on the right is the micro E-mini NASDAQ futures. So the Globex trading hours are in play here, 5 p.m. each afternoon until 4 p.m. the next afternoon, Sunday through Friday. Here are the expiration codes that you need to be aware of. So we have our quarterly options that expire when the future expires. And so that symbol, that option symbol, is going to be MES. And then you have the EOM, which is the end of the month. And then you have the weeklies. And I'll show you this in Futures Plus, so you'll actually see that symbology inside of Futures Plus and how to select the ones that you want to select. There's always going to be 2 quarterlies available to trade, the current quarter and the next quarter. There'll be 3 end of months to trade, so you can trade the end of this month, which will expire. So it'll expire on October 30th. That's the last trading day of the month. And then you have the weeklies that expire every Friday. There's going to be 4. There's 4 of them right now that I see in the list. They're telling me, CME is telling me there's going to be 5 weeklies, but we'll see. Right now there are 4 that are available. I think they're quarterlies are American style exercise, which means that if you buy a quarterly option, which will expire when the future expires, that can be exercised or assigned at any time between now and expiration. The weeklies and the end of month are European, which means that they can only be exercised on the day of expiration, so that you can factor that into the way that you're trading and the type of strategies that you're putting on. So as we talked about, the Micro E-mini futures has a 5-point value per contract, so do the options. The NASDAQ 100 has a $2 per point per contract, and those are the point values for those 2 contracts. By the way, there's a link right there in the PowerPoint if you want to take a picture of that. That'll take you to a really great page that talks about this product. Okay, so some key takeaways from my point of view here is that having that overnight access to really liquid markets for hedging and speculation is, I think, incredibly valuable. It's a nice safety net. If you're a stock trader, a stock options trader, here's a safety net for you. If something happens over the weekend or something happens at midnight, here's a way that you can react to that and hedge your position or speculate on what's going to happen based on that news. This is, again, a very low-cost entry to trade futures and futures options, both the Micro E-mini and these new Micro E-mini futures. They're 1/10 the size of the regular E-mini contract, and it's a great way to kind of, if you're new to trading or you have a small account, you're just getting started, here's a product where you can get some really good leverage, trade a very liquid market, and participate in one of the largest financial instruments in the world. If you are managing your stock portfolio, your 401k, or you just have a stock position on that you want to hedge over the weekend, or you want to hedge it going into earnings, here is a precise way of putting on an options trade in the E-mini to help you hedge or offset any risk that you feel like you have in the market. Okay, so how do we trade these? So in TradeStation, you can't trade futures options through the standard TradeStation desktop platform or the web or mobile tools. Last year, we partnered with Trading Technologies. They're a institutional level trading platform for futures traders, futures options traders, and futures spread traders. And so we partnered with them to create a product called Futures Plus. And Futures Plus allows you to tap into their technology, but place those trades and that execution through TradeStation, who's your broker-dealer. This is a web-based platform, and as I said, institutional-grade platform that you can tap into just by opening up a separate account and getting access to this platform. So this is the login screen. I'm just going to go through a couple of screens here, and then we'll go into Futures Plus itself. So this is just the login screen, and there are tutorials and videos and lots of online help. So you log in. This is the Futures Plus platform. It uses the same convention as TradeStation does, which is the workspace convention, where you can create a view and save it and bring up any view that you want. So this is a web-based platform, so you can only have one workspace open at a time, but there are pages to each workspace. So in essence, you can have one workspace open, but then jump to other pages within that workspace. And I'll show you that here in just a second. So at the top here, that's highlighted, the Futures Plus platform uses a convention of widgets. So all of the different tools in Futures Plus are called widgets. In TradeStation, they're called apps. But in Futures Plus, we call them widgets. And there are a couple of dozen different widgets that you can use for your futures trading and your futures options trading. So certainly there is a market grid, which we see here, which is our watch list. And we have really good charting with a nice collection of powerful indicators, and we can look at charts in different ways. So all the normal things that you would expect from a trading platform are here: watch lists, great charting, and of course order entry. Today we're talking about options. So this is the option chain window within FuturesPlus. And so you've got strikes running down the middle, just like any option chain, calls on the left, puts on the right. And you'll notice up here at the very top, there is a magnifying glass, and you can see the symbol for the option chain here. So if you want to change the option chain to a different symbol, you can click on that little magnifying glass there. It brings up a symbol explorer, and you can find any of the symbols, any of the futures, any of the options that can be traded here on FuturesPlus. So FuturesPlus does some really interesting things that I like about the options chain. So if you look at the columns here, you'll notice that there is the put bid column and the put ask column. Those are active order columns, just like in the TradeStation matrix. If you click on a bid or ask, it brings up the MD trader, which is kind of like our matrix. You see that over here on the right. And I can just place a trade directly just like I would in the matrix there. Notice that some of these rows are highlighted in that put bid column. And what that's telling me is that that particular option right now is less expensive than the theoretical value. So in other words, I can write that option for $11.25 where the theoretical value is $11.11. Here, if I'm buying, I'm going to buy at the ask. I can see that that's, there's the theoretical, there's the ask. It highlights those options, and sometimes you see them in the ask column as well, where I can buy an option for less than the theoretical value. It's an interesting feature that I really like here. So it shows me those options that are underpriced against that theoretical value. You can see the delta. This is the call delta and the put delta. And of course, they calculate implied volatility for each of those. And there are dozens and dozens of other columns that you can add to this window, but these are pretty much the columns that I use. So as I said, if you click on the bid or ask price, it brings up the MD trader here on the right. I can select my trade size, my order type, limit order, market order, the duration of that order. And then if I'm buying, I can, just like in the matrix, I click on the blue bid column and it will put an order in at that price. Again, but you'll see it working here in the working column. And if we get filled, you'll actually see that we have a position at that instrument. It'll show you that here in this window as well. It'll also show you that position in the option chain. Notice there's columns over here that says put position and call position. So if I place a trade, I get filled, you're going to see it here, you're going to see it here. So it's one of the things I like about FuturesPlus, and what I like about TradeStation is that just about anywhere I am in the platform, it's going to show me whether I have a position in that particular instrument or not. All right, let's go to FuturesPlus. So this is FuturesPlus, and let's just do a little bit of navigating here. So I'm going to just minimize these for right now. So here's my market grid. And again, if I go to File, I can open my workspaces. I can create a new workspace. I can save my work. So just like we would in TradeStation, I'm going to save this workspace. But notice over here, there's a drop down in the upper right. It says Futures right now. That's the name of this page. But I can create other pages, other windows. And so I have one of these pages that is my orders and positions, so I can see those. And there's another page that shows my balance and the audit trail. So all of these different views are all saved as part of that one workspace, which is really handy because I can only have one workspace open at a time. So here is the widgets menu. And here I can add any of the different widgets to the window, to the workspace here. But for today, we're going to focus on placing an options trade for these new micro E-mini futures. I'm going to bring back the option chain. Notice these little icons here. These tell me what windows are active in the workspace. So for example, here, that's my option chain. If I click on that, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to fit all the columns to the content there. This is the December quarterly contract. Let's say I want to trade the weekly. Let's say I want to trade for tomorrow. I want to trade the weekly that expires tomorrow. So I can click on the magnifying glass here, and I can come to MES, that's the Micro E-mini, and here you can see all of the different options that are available for that. So MES, those are the quarterlies, and then you have the EX here, which is the end of month, and then this is the weeklies right here. And so you can see the different weekly contracts going out. So let's select that first one and click select. So now here you can see the expiration is tomorrow. There's 2 days until expiration. And let's buy a call going into tomorrow. I'm going to click on the ask column here. And I can see I can buy that for $20.75. So what that means is if you multiply that times the point value, that's the cost of the option. So the point value for the Micro E-mini futures options is $5. So I'm going to pay $100 to buy that call option going into tomorrow. And that's the idea. So you always have to multiply the futures options price by the point value of the future. And in this case, it's 5. So I'm going to click there, and that brings up our MD Trader. So I'm going to make this a market order. I just want to get in. I'm going to set my trade size to 1. And just like in the matrix, if I want to buy, I'm going to just click anywhere in the blue column here. And it doesn't matter where I click because it's a market order. And this is a good just for the today. And I'm going to click confirm. And we got filled. And we got filled at 20.25. Do you see? So we bought 133.65 call. And I can see that in my call position here in the option chain. And I can see, and it's just that simple. So now we're filled. How do we track that position? So one of the ways we can track that position is we can go to our widgets and we can go to positions. So here are the positions. I have some other positions on as well. And you can see that here is, so here's the contract that we just bought. I also have a December 20 put. You can see that right there. And that's down a little bit. I also have a position in the micro euro dollar against the dollar. That's down a little bit as well. But here you can see that I have this. I actually made 2 trades today. You can see that I bought one here and I sold it, and now I'm flat. But this is the one we just bought right now. There's that quantity, and there you can see that I'm actually long one contract, and we're tracking that position. And it's just that easy. If you go to widgets and you go to balances, you can see your balances, what the previous settlement was, what the estimated current settlement is today, and what that change might be. So you can see that here. So if we want to close that position, a couple of different ways we can do that. So here we have that MD Trader already open, so we're ready to trade that same instrument. It shows me right here, you'll notice this little box is telling me that I'm long one contract. So if I click that, it populates this. Again, I want to just close it at market. So here I can move my mouse anywhere into the ask column, and with one click it says confirm the sell. I'll say yes. And there you can see it is now sold, so the quantity was long one, we sold it, and we're flat. And really that's all you need to know to be able to trade these futures options with FuturesPlus. You can build your watch list, look at charts, bring up options chains for any of the available series and contracts, do your analysis, and place that trade. You can create complex spreads, vertical spreads, calendar spreads, anything that you can do with a stock option to take advantage of any market condition. You can do that here. Well, that's what I have for you today. Thanks everybody for joining me. Be sure to learn more about FuturesPlus from the TradeStation.com website or our YouTube channel, and definitely check out more about the micro options on the CME's website. Thanks everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll see you at another upcoming TradeStation event. Thanks.